So, Cassidy, you sort of answered this next question a few minutes ago when you said that once you went to the ER, that really heightened some of that. Your inner child was sort of screaming when you got into that ER program and getting into the ER work itself. That
Hmm.
it stirred up a lot of feelings. But I guess the way I will ask you this is, as you continued on and went back to work, what was that like to go back to work now post treatment? Um, did that environment still stir up some of those same feelings, or did it look like a different place after your treatment program?
Yeah. So when I finished when I finished the ER program, I worked as a very insecure bedside nurse for a little while, and then I went to treatment. And then when I came back, I felt when I was going back that it was going to be, I don't know, it was so hard to pinpoint whether it was the nursing or the childhood or the relationship or all three. That was kind of the catalyst. And I definitely had insecurities going back to work because I was a brand new emerge nurse at this point with very little experience, going back in a very vulnerable state of mind. And I thought it was going to be harder than it was, but it wasn't in the very beginning. And this was pre-pandemic. I felt like I had the support in the sense that they gave me six or eight weeks of GRTW, so gradual return to work. So I was always supernumerary, which means I was an extra nurse. So for those 6 or 8 weeks, I was not solely responsible for anything or anyone at any given time. So I definitely was able to ease back in that sense. So that allowed me to refine my footing as a nurse in the emerge department and feel that I would be able to kind of journey a little bit further. So I don't feel that when I went back that I was as unstable as I thought I would be. Like, I really do think I needed therapy, and I needed a lot of therapy. And it had kind of really helped me kind of go back in the right direction, if that makes sense.
It does. I wondered what your opinion was there, Corey. To me, it looks like you had some some stuff from your childhood that maybe was just the way that you were raised. You weren't addressing it or processing it at all. You were kind of just going along. I also hear a lot of things that sound a lot like the rhetoric I have in my head a lot of the time, which is like perfectionist-based talk, where barely anything I do is ever good enough. There's always this. I mean, I've gotten a lot better at it over time, but it sounds like maybe you're pretty hard on yourself that way as well. And I think that maybe if you have those kind of issues in the background, and depending on which way, you said that you were partying, but then you sort of started crossing a line where you realized that maybe you weren't partying to have fun, you were partying to kind of cope. And to me, it sounds like, because you look like, from what I've seen and what I've heard from talking to you, it seems like you like being a nurse. You seem to enjoy your job. You sound like you're good at it. You travel all over the place, and you make use of the profession as best you can. And I don't know, if there's any drug use that was associated with specific things that were only accessible there, but it doesn't sound like it. So maybe it was like you said, maybe there was just some work that needed to be done personally. That's how I see it. What do you think, Corey, being a nurse as well, or a former nurse?
I think, and this is why it's so great to have Cassidy here with us, is that it's unique to everyone. And for me, the environment became so enmeshed in my psychology and my own reaction to the environment, and my inner child too, and my need to kind of cope and soothe myself. But it's not like that for every single person. And I think there are many people who we meet, including people who've done the show with us, who love their job, and who it really is a fulfilling, gratifying experience for them. So I'm happy to be sort of highlighting that and highlighting an example where there is a light at the end of the tunnel, that you can get back to your profession. So maybe I'll ask you this question then, Cassidy. Continuing on now, what does ER nursing do for you? Like, what part of you does that fill up, and where do you get your satisfaction from there?
Yeah, I find ER nursing doesn't fill me up anymore. Like, I find it's very hard place to work right now, because I love emerge nursing for a portion of emerge nursing. I love really sick patients, and I love when I mean, I don't love that a person is sick, but I love taking care of a sick person. The part of emerge nursing that I don't like is the emotional abuse that we get all the time, from frequent flyers, which are, people that come to emerge very often for non-emergence kind of situations, which sometimes they're looking for a place to sleep or a meal to eat, which is obviously not what the emergency department is for, and are a lot of the time very belittling, and with very high expectations. Or the other side of emerge nursing, where, there's not enough GPs in the community. So we have all of that influx of people coming in that want care now, and they want to be seen now. And we don't have the ability to do that. We were not created as an emergency department to facilitate those types of people, whichever group it is, which both groups of those people need help, and they need access to the things they need. And it's unfortunate that they need to come to the ER to kind of fulfill those needs, where they should be able to get those somewhere else in our community. So that's part of emerge nursing has become really draining lately, because it's becoming increasingly more problematic. So I've actually been finding myself working on other units outside of emergency medicine, just to give myself a break from it, because it's very draining, and it doesn't fill you up anymore, because it is, no matter what you do or how much you do in the emergency department I work in, you never feel like you make a difference, because you either leave the shift as a triage nurse with like 54 people to still be seen, or you start the shift with that many and everybody's already mad at you because they want to be seen sooner. And it's, there's no movement in the hospital. So that's really hard, because the emerge gets the brunt of that backfill everywhere in the hospital, because we have to accommodate all those people, and more people come through the door. So we're expanding into places that we don't actually have places. So from that side, it's really draining. So I don't tend to have a lot of good shifts in emergency, which is why I try and work there less and less often. So I find myself picking up on our high acuity unit or our ICU unit, to try and still give me that passion for nursing, because I still do love nursing. I love, when some patients are really nice to you, I love giving bed baths. I love being able to take care of people. I do love that. But emergency medicine is not allowing us to do that anymore. Sometimes you don't even have time to bedpan somebody, and you literally have to let them go to the bathroom in the bed, because you have so many patients, and they just are like, you're a terrible person. And I'm like, I feel like a terrible person, but this is what your government has us working with. Like, we can't do anything past what we are given the means to do. And that's, as healthcare professionals, we're kind of just left to kind of deal with the brunt of that.
Yeah. I work in a pharmacy that's attached to a walk-in clinic, and everywhere in BC right now, I think we're well over 1 million people who don't have access to a family physician. This has been going on for a while. We're losing doctors at a fairly steady rate, but it never fails to amaze me. And this isn't everybody, but there's a type of person out there who is living in a world where they believe that they're just entitled to such services and entitled to see a doctor at such and such a time without a delay. And these people, because of the backlog and we open up our doors and we have a lineup, we open it up, and we're at max capacity within a couple hours, and then we're turning people away. And those people have two choices. They got to go to urgent care if there's any room left there, or else they're at emerge. And I look around and I see a quarter of them who might qualify for like actually needing to see a doctor today. The rest are kind of looking for refills on prescriptions, or, you know, things that aren't, I wouldn't classify as a big enough problem to be there. I mean, this is just a general statement, obviously, but to speak to the way you're being treated, I feel that a little bit. I see how my MOAs are treated, and I know how I get treated some days is not good. And I get that people are sick and hurting and frustrated because they can't see a doctor. But people need to maybe stop and think a little bit about what is happening right now with our country. And this is not the Canada of 20 years ago. That time has passed. So if we want to hold on to whatever remnant of our free healthcare service that we have, we should probably be taking care of the people who take care of us, and the ones who do that the most are nurses. So please, everybody, take a deep breath and have some patience. We're all doing our best.